Hello. It's early morning, I think. Let me check. Oh, still Christmas. 7:26. Okay, nothing in my teeth. I kind of hated how these kind of habits were instilled on me. Like, make sure there's nothing in your teeth. Make sure you don't have sleep in your eyes. Why? Are people gonna fucking hate me if I have sleep in my eyes? What they really do, if they're girls and they're angry at you for being prettier than them, they'll come up to you and tell you in effort to shut down your fucking ego. Fucking girls. They're so fucking horrible to each other. So let's talk about myself for a second. My brother, we were in grade school together. I was a grade behind when I started school because my mother had taught me at the same level as my brother. So when I should have entered school the first time I went to school, it would have been second grade. But I didn't know second grade material. Although I knew I could have learned it quickly if they'd just given me the opportunity. But my mom, being my mom, I think discouraged me against this or something. So, whatever. I don't know for sure if that's what happened, but people were putting categories and labels on me and saying she should be blah, blah, blah. So, I went into first grade material. And that was honestly, for the most part, where I was at, besides in math and English. Okay, so I think it was between first and second grade. And I think it's because I was jealous of my brother for being in the same grade as me. And sometimes doing better than me in certain subjects. I have the perception that he did better than me, although I have no explicit memory, just a feeling. So, my competition started with my brother. I don't inherently think competition is a bad thing. I think it's important to be able to rise to the occasion, and that's what competition teaches you. And it's fine to be happy and excited you won. I don't think it's that nice to gloat, but to be fucking happy you won and that kind of carry you through the day is just part of how I grew up. I enjoy competition because it brings out the best in me. I don't know if that's everybody. Okay. So, because I was jealous of my brother, I believe that I started making fun of him in school and at recess because he was talented. At the church where we went, they always had him do solos. He would sing. And either my mom or me had to tell them that I would like to sing too. Because I think he would just sing in class, which was probably very brave. The point of the story, I was jealous of my brother. So there were maybe other kids who were too. So I went along with this. And I would make fun of him at recess. And he would be excluded from games everyone else was doing or made fun of for God knows what. I believe he had, well, I don't want to describe my brother. I think that might be unkind. But, I'm sad about how I treated him now. And I think in that, I hope it was the same year, could have been the next year. I might have been making fun of him a little bit all throughout grade school because I was in the same grade as him. Eventually, I became like obsessed with winning and competing, and I did much better academically, and I got the solos. He just cared less about doing anything for any sort of accolade, which I somewhat admired, but with or without having felt competitive with him, I believe I would have always had a competitive spirit. Anyways, so I had stopped making fun of him by middle school, and by middle school, I caught up very quickly. And I was completely caught up by 8th grade. So that was part of why I was doing schoolwork at home, but there were lots of reasons behind that. Like spending all my free time doing schoolwork, kind of like what I've heard Asian kids do. So I'm like, it's okay to be like angry at yourself for bullying someone because you perceive them as having more than you do at one time or another. But it's also okay to forgive yourself. I remember reflecting in maybe 2nd grade about how I was bullying my brother and making some sort of pact with myself to stop doing it because I knew it was hurting him, and I knew that it was pretty low of me to be doing that. But I don't think I completely stopped. And yeah, I was a kid. I guess even if you're an adult doing it, you always have the opportunity to learn and grow and have compassion for the other person. As an adult, I've barely been jealous of other people. That's not quite true. I just don't respond to it the same as I would in grade school because I think I did reflect about it or just learn as I went that it wouldn't get me anywhere because my brother got so good at deflecting it. But I don't think that it was really easy for him. And he's spent his life taking whatever he can from other people. So that's not my fault, the choices he made based on like being bullied. oh, what am I thinking here? Just like, I'm not at fault. But it's just like, as soon as I started to like rise up and stop bullying myself, my mom would feel like she didn't have control over me anymore and she'd put me down. So that in turn, I would become very angry at my brother because my mom, for the most part, left him alone as far as that kind of terror. And I did not know how to process emotions like that kind of hatred and discouragement coming towards me. And no matter what I did, I felt that she didn't love me. It was never enough. And she just had me doing more and more, like working me to the fucking bone. It was pretty easy to see in like a childhood photo how fucking tired I was. I looked like some sort of malnourished slave. And my brother went through a significant amount of neglect, which I feel in a way that freed him to be more of himself. Like he thinks I got some special treatment because my mom would talk to me and confide in me. I'm not sure why the word war horse is coming to mind, but I felt like I was like my mom's war horse. Let's just say, for example, that she was riding me all the time in a sort of wouldn't get off my case kind of way. Like I'm a naturally like rebellious, angry child. But it became increasingly clear that it was never safe to explore those things with her. I think she had been like emotionally abandoned a long time ago by her family, so she was determined to emotionally abandon others. So you can see how these cycles can continue. So I have compassion for her in this regard. I've never completely forgiven my brother, although I want to, because I feel like the abuse he received wasn't so harsh. But I didn't have his lived experience. I just know now that as adults, I don't try to tear him down, but he tears me down in the worst fucking way. The gaslighting sort of stuff. And none of us were naturally like this as children, but we were like taught to war against each other in a different way than just a regular sibling rivalry, but maybe that's how they always go. Maybe they're always life or death. We were competing for our parents' attention. But whether I asked for it or not, my parents were going to give me the most attention. They just don't realize, my brothers, that it was negative attention. My parents, like, cut off my voice. They poured all their problems and struggles on me. But they were not there for any problem or struggle I would ever have. So it was pretty easy to devalue myself. And somehow, my dad would take me to sing at open mics in high school, like I said in another video. But he would say, "You've got something," about it when I played. When there were other adults there, like, raving about the experience or giving me extravagant compliments, which part of it was to get under my skin in a sort of what makes you talented in a conniving, jealous sort of way. But some of it was really genuine and really heartfelt, and I knew I had impacted people's lives by not caring what they thought about me. So that is a big part of the secret to success, which I have lost track of in the past, on and off. Well, I thought I'd lost track of it, but not really. Because my parents aren't the only ones with these sort of patterns. I had like a favorite teacher in high school. And one day I walked in to talk to her about something I was really excited about. She was talking to another adult. From the vibe in the room, I knew they were gossiping about another teacher. And I walked up, and I just wanted her attention. I wanted her to pay attention to me and give me some feedback about something I'd been doing. She took me outside the classroom and told me it wasn't appropriate to interrupt people and just walk in, that you have to knock. Right. And I gave her the essays that I had used to win a huge scholarship, because I wanted her to read and understand more about my life. And I asked her if she'd read them, and she said, yeah. Kind of giving me that I don't give a fuck response. So. And you know how long it's taken me to understand that that was abuse? You might not believe me, and you might justify her behavior as just saying, she may have been tired that day, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm too sensitive. If you're still saying that, you're part of the problem. My senses work accurately. I've been treated like this lots and lots of times in my life. The more content I am with myself, the more others have tried to bring me down. The more they see me enjoy or excel, the happier they are to watch me fall. Do I ever have any real friends? Tell me. And I get premonitions of sorts about what's going to happen in my future. Should I stay the course I'm on? And I know I will have friends. And I know I will have a relationship with a man who's not abusive. And I'm practicing recognizing abusive behavior so that I never get in a relationship with a man like that again. Because I don't have time for you shit that my teacher did. I just could understand by meeting like her husband. And there was another woman I really loved at Ace Hardware. But I saw the dynamic between her and her husband. There was no love there. It's like so many women have to put themselves in this submissive position with men. Like it's thought of as a fucking requirement for marriage. I just want to say, I will not be doing that. I will not be blaming myself for things that I did not do to please you. I will not be dimming my light so that you feel more powerful. I will not be pretending I'm less so that you feel more comfortable. Because while some of these women have sunk further and further into despair from accepting societal norms about how women should behave, I'm not saying they had to get it all in this lifetime. It takes some of us a fucking while. I know I've been in these cycles for a long time. Sometimes I believe in reincarnation and sometimes I don't. It wavers. But for instance, like I look at my phone in this screen, and because my mother would pick at my face so much, or my weight, I don't always see myself as beautiful. I sometimes see myself as beautiful. I generally think I'm only beautiful when my face is bright and I'm happy. How could I possibly also be beautiful when I'm sad and I'm crying? Yet crying feels so good. So what's the difference? So, I think the reason I was able to get out of abusive relationships is because I became less and less tolerable for abusive men to deal with. As I started to figure out, even if you're fucking right about all these things I am, I'm worth living. I get to be here. Even if I'm the worst piece of shit, I can still figure out what I can do with this life, and it will be better than being with you. And even though I got with men like this, again, I did also learn, ironically from sleeping around, how to better understand my value and who I was, with other men constantly telling me that I'm beautiful, it was almost like a little too much for them to handle how pretty I was. So you kind of like have to watch out for these like fucking narcissistic men or psychopaths. I don't know. There's probably a spectrum. I felt like my first husband was one of the people that's harder to detect. But I want to say more about him. So, like, he had to have such tight control over, like, what was happening in his environment. And I have a way I prefer my environment to be. But it was nothing like how OCD he was. It was just like he wasn't willing to grow. He thought he had never made mistakes. He was confused about why other people didn't like him. So he said they only liked him when he was trying his best. Which sounds like he had rationalized a sort of deep abandonment he felt to me. Just certain things started to poke holes in what he was saying. That he wouldn't let me bake for the first year or two that we lived in the apartment because flour would get in the cracks in the counters. That he would want me to organize at random. And then when I did, he would stop me and do it all and make every can face the same direction. Nothing inherently wrong with this. I'm talking about the way that he would say he wanted things that he didn't really want. Now, women do this trying to get men to understand where they're coming from. Because they want the man to inquire further. Because they know what they need. And they're just trying to see if he will listen to something surface before they get deep with you. But with men like my husband, because I would try to bring out my pain or my hurt or question him, he would take my food away. One time I went into the back room with my plate after he threw his food away in a gesture of better listen to me, bitch, sort of shit. So he comes back to the room, he takes my plate, and he throws my food away. This guy was a fucking psycho. And yet, like 2 years out of the relationship, I'm two times I went back to the house I knew he lived, that his mother owned. And he was supposed to be some huge fucking success, right? Yeah, right. He was always a fucking loser, I just couldn't see it. I'm not talking about outward success here, I'm just saying that the men I have been with have touted themselves as being such great, successful men. And in reality, they're very, very insecure. In reality, they don't have much to offer anybody. And that's why they get nowhere. People are poor for various reasons. That's just this particular character style's reason for being poor. And sometimes there is no reason. Sometimes you do actually get a bunch of bad breaks. The more you stand up for yourself before it turns around, you're gonna get rejected and excluded from various things, most likely. Because people don't want to see your power, especially if they know you as being someone they can walk all over. It has happened to me. Abusers get fucking mad when they know you know. So, what I'm trying to say in retrospect is that I don't bully my brother. My brother became the bully. And for me, because I care about him, I just hope that's a cycle in his life. Like it was a cycle for me. But I hope that he grows out of it. I hope he finds love. I hope he finds everything he ever wants. I even hope for the people that abused me that they find peace with themselves. I don't really want anyone to suffer, and I don't think I ever have. It was just hard being made to be at war with your siblings in a game of life and death. And if I was gonna have to fight to be the last man standing, I fought fucking hard. And I think it's admirable to want to stay alive as a child. It's admirable to try to get the most attention because you need it. Every child does. But inadequate parents can't take care of one child well, let alone 3. I suppose, well, I had thought, but I don't think it's true, that maybe if there's 3 children, the abuse is less severe because it's harder to ladle out abuse on that many children at the same time. But I guess what I was doing was feeding off the attention, even if it was negative attention, even if I felt worse after I received it. And that became the model for my life for a while, that anything good came with a consequence. And that's a hard lesson to unlearn. That's what I'm in the process of doing right now. So, I love you, brother. I love you, family. But I know you're all abusers, okay? And I no longer accept you in my life. So don't try to call me. Ever.